Good morning, everyone. This is Dave Grant. I am going to be presenting the webinar today. Thank you for joining us. And we are prompt at 11 o'clock, and I want to be respectful of your time. So we are going to go right ahead and get into this. So we are going to be talking today about gaining control over your retirement. A lot has been happening recently with pension reform, and it's becoming a little bit unsettling. So we're going to go through some things today so you can feel more comfortable with that. So we are coming together as Finance for Teachers and Teachers Retirement Help to give you this content today. Just to give you a little bit of background as to who we are. So my name is Dave Grant. I am a certified financial planner, and I've been doing financial planning for the last 7 years. I've been working with teachers primarily for the last 3, and I've been doing that in my company, Finance for Teachers, for the last year. Now, the reason I do that is because I'm married to a teacher. So all of this is personal, and it all affects me and my family. So I understand the changes that are coming to you and how they're unsettling, and it can have a big impact financially. Now, the one thing about Finance for Teachers is we do it a little differently. We don't sell any products. We don't sell any 403Bs. We don't sell any insurance. We truly come to you and say, let's work together. You compensate us for our time and expertise. We'll give you the best solutions for you, and then we can work together that way. Now, Steve over at Teachers Retirement Help, he runs a completely online website full of resources for teachers and really geared towards their retirement help, clues in the name. And he has been doing that for a number of years, has a lot of good resources, a lot of good exposure. So after this call, I'd recommend you go check out both our websites and see what resources you can find that are relevant to you. So the main thing today, and this is a question I would love for you to answer by the time you get to the end of this call, is are you prepared for any changes that could happen? Changes to the pension is one thing, but are you prepared for any changes that could happen in your approach to retirement that don't include your pension? So what are the changes that are coming with the pension? What could happen and what should you be aware of? We'll do a quick summary of where it's at. In 2012, and these are most recent numbers, Illinois had funded 0.1% of the health care liability for state employees. Now, TRS makes up the biggest part of the state employees of the state, so that's a little worrying. You are subsidizing the health care premiums in retirement throughout your career, but knowing that there may or may not be a health care program there when you retire that's not Medicare, that's a little worrying. However, there are other options available to you. But when it comes to the pension, there's not. This is the bulk of your retirement savings. So as of 2012, the same with this health care liability, Illinois has funded 45% of its pension liability. That's a very low number when it comes to funding pensions. Some states have gone up to 100, and they're even putting in more just to make sure that they're okay. Illinois is one of the worst funded pensions in the country. And as of 2 days ago, the TRS program, they adjusted how much they think they're going to earn on their pensions. They adjusted it lower. And they don't think they're going to earn as much in the future, which then increased the liability even more. So it looks a little worse. So that's a little shaky ground. No one likes to think they're putting money into something that may not give them everything that they need in the future. There's a lot of proposed changes that were law and were going to be introduced at the start of June, but have now been stayed by a lawsuit that's in process. Now, if you want any in-detail information about what that pension change is going to be, I do have a piece on my website. It's called The Truth About Illinois Pension Reform. You can go there and read in detail about what's being proposed and how it could affect you. But we're not going to go into too much detail about that today. The reason we're not going to do too much detail is because you can't control that. You can vote changes, but you can't have a big impact on how that's going to affect you. You can control a lot of other things, which we're going to go through today. So if pension reform does or doesn't go through, what does that look like for your typical family? How's it going to affect them? So you've got your typical family. You've got parents. You've got children. And what happens if there's no pension reform that goes through? We've got Judy and Paul. Judy's a teacher. Paul's an IT consultant. And they have been very frugal. They are aware that they need to save for the future. So Judy is saving to a 403b. Paul is saving to his 401k, and they're saving for their children's future too. So due to their current savings and due to the current pension that could be coming towards them in terms of Judy's pension, they're confident. They think that they are on track to be meeting these goals. They're doing the best they can, but they're still enjoying family life. Now, if they keep on this track, Judy at retirement, she may not need to pull from her 403b given what her pension may be. If she gets a master's degree, she stays in the same district, hits the 35 years of service to get her full pension, she is then able to get a good, generous pension should there be no reform, and her savings may be extra money that she could use for fun purposes. But what happens if pension reform comes into play? They're going to have to change their strategy as a family. They're now realizing that A, Judy may have to work longer in order to receive a pension that's not reduced. And even if she does get there, her pension could be smaller, just due to how different calculations come into play. So they try and preempt that. Paul saves more money to his 401k. He's trying to get ahead of the game with getting a bigger balance at retirement so that they actually can retire with some dignity and have money to spend in retirement. But the knock-on effect of that is that he is able to contribute less to college savings. The children aren't going to have as much to use for retirement when they get to that point. Get to college when they get to that point, and they may have to take out loans, and they're not going to be in the best state for their family. They've also got less money to create family memories. All that money is going into extra retirement savings, and it leaves them a little strapped for cash. Judy has to save more. She bears the brunt of this. It's nothing that she did, but there's a lot of burden put on Judy that now her pension's going to be less and she's got to work more. She's also got to save more to get to the same point that she wanted to be at. So she's now making up deeper and deeper contributions to her 403b. She's saving a lot more just to try and get to the same spot as to where she was. However, if they adjusted their approach slightly, they can avoid some of that pain. If they keep going on the way they're going, they are going to end up okay, but if they tweak it, they can end up in a better place. So what can they do? Judy's using a 403b. It's a 403b that she got through a vendor in the school district, and it's an insurance company. It could be an AXA 403b, it could be VALIC, it could be Horace Mann, some of those from the insurance companies. The insurance company 403bs are very expensive, and they are very restrictive on people that use them. I'll give you some examples. If you want to have, and I'm going to pick on AXA just because everyone knows who they are. So let's say you have a 403b from AXA. If you want to hold that account, it's going to cost you 1% to do that, before you do anything. There's miscellaneous fees inside that account that are around 0.5% of all the money you have in there. And then you've got to pick your investments on top of that. So just to be able to use that account and invest your money, you're looking at over 2% and maybe over 3% in order to use that. Now that's some nice financial jargon there, so let's compare it to something else. What if you were to choose a 403b from an investment company? A good example of this is Lincoln Investments. They're not an insurance company, they're an investment company. Now the way you pay those guys is you pay them a fee to manage the money, and then you can choose whatever investments you want to, whether they be expensive or cheap in that account, and typically those fees can be under 1% or just around 1%. So if you compare them just on expenses, you're looking at an investment company that's charging you 1% per year, and then an insurance company which is looking around 3%. Well, that's kind of an easy option which one to choose. You can choose the one that's charging you 1%. However, from what I've seen with working with teachers, I would say over 50% of teachers are using 403bs from insurance companies. So you're paying 3 times as much money as you should do to be able to save for retirement. Now, most teachers should be using Roth accounts. Now, I'll explain what this is. A Roth account is different to a traditional account that almost everybody uses. If you open up a regular 403b, you're going to be contributing some money to that. Let's say you're doing $100 a month, just for round math. You're going to be avoiding paying taxes on that $100 a month, and you're going to let it grow, and then when you get to retirement, you're going to pull that money out, and you're going to be taxed on all of it that you take out. A Roth works in the opposite way. You actually, if you were to put $100 into that account, you are taxed on that first. And let's say that you pay 15% taxes, only $85 will go into the account. You let it grow all the way up into retirement, but when you pull it out, it's all tax-free. So you don't pay any additional taxes on that. Now, the tricky thing is that some teachers are using the traditional accounts now, and they're not paying a lot of taxes anyway. So they're maybe getting a deferral of, 10% in their taxes, but when they pull it out at the end, they may be paying 20% in taxes on that money. So you're actually not getting a good benefit on that account. So when I sit down with teachers, I look at how much they earn. You know, if you're single and you're looking to make some retirement contributions, I typically say to a single person, if you're making over $75,000 as a teacher, then let's look at a traditional 403b. But if you're not doing that yet, I would stick to a Roth account primarily. You know, pay the taxes now, let the money ride, and take it out tax-free at the end. You know, if you're married, the sweet spot's around $110,000, maybe $120,000, and that's when you start to see some benefit in not paying taxes yet. Now, why do I say that to people? Because it's the complete opposite to a lot of people who are investing who aren't teachers. The main reason is you're going to get a pension in retirement. You're going to get that pension every single month, and there is no way for you to say, I don't want to receive it this month. So that means that in retirement, you're going to be put in a tax bracket that you can't ever get below, just because your pension is putting you in that tax bracket. So if you want flexibility in retirement, it's best to have your money in lots of different pots, so a tax-free pot and a tax-deferred pot, just so you have some options in retirement. But the majority of teachers aren't doing that just because they're not aware. So what if you're a young teacher? I know there's some new teachers on the call. I would say the best option for you to start saving for retirement is a Roth IRA. Now, this isn't a 403b account. This is not tied to the district. It's not something you get through work. This is actually something you can go buy on your own. So you can go to your bank, you can go to a Charles Schwab or Fidelity, one of the big companies out there, and you can say, I want to open a Roth IRA. And it doesn't matter where you work, it doesn't matter what type of income you earn, you're able to open that account, put some money in, and you can choose any investment that you want to. And typically holding those accounts is free. So you're moving from a traditional 403b with an insurance company of 3% per year down to free. I mean, this is a very good option. Now, inside that Roth IRA, it doesn't matter if you leave the teaching industry or if you change districts. It's not tied to your employment. You have a huge amount of flexibility there. The only downside with a Roth IRA is you can't contribute as much as you could if you were to do a 403b. So sometimes for people earning more money, they start to get a little trapped there. But for new teachers, a Roth IRA is the best way to go. So what's next for you as you go through this? This will be the point where, I know I've gone through a lot of technical stuff here and a lot of things about pensions and savings options. If you do have questions, now would be the time that we'll go through them and we'll cover any specifics that people have on 403bs and Roth IRAs and whatnot. But just let me know. We do have a couple questions that come in. One of them is, can I switch from a 403b to a Roth IRA? And the answer to that is definitely. You can't take the money out of the 403b and put it in the Roth IRA, but you can stop what you're doing and change. And if you realize that you're using an expensive product that's not going to be the best option for you, you can stop what you're doing on that account and not put any more money in. And you can then go over to another account and open it. So go down to a Charles Schwab and say, I want that Roth IRA. And you can start putting your new money into that account. Someone says that their district doesn't offer Roth 403Bs. Can you ask a district to include them? You can do. I mean, I've talked to some districts locally here, and some of them are open to the idea of making lots more options open to their teachers. Some of them aren't, so you may have to go to your district and ask nicely, or get a group of teachers together and say, this is what we want. And so if you have that consensus, then most of the time people are receptive to that, and they'll give you the option. Someone has asked, can we ask for different vendors in our district? There are some school districts which don't have a lot of 403B options, and some of them aren't very good. You can ask for different vendors. There have been teachers I've worked with and other advisors around the country who work with teachers, and they have been successful if they get a group of teachers to go to their administration and say, we would like some lower cost options in order to invest in. So we want a Vanguard. We want Fidelity or TIA CREF, and we want to be able to use these people versus the expensive options over there. Can you get us those people? If you have a consensus, more likely than not, your district will be able to open some new vendors and make those options available to you. All right, looks like that is the questions that we have in. So let's move on. What's next for you? You've got 3 options from this point. If you looked at your agenda that we emailed to you, one of the last slides is, what are your options going forward from this? I've tried to keep it a little light on the information that can go in a lot in detail. But if you're comfortable knowing which way to go forward, then you can take this information and you can go change your strategy to make sure that you're more prepared. However, if you've heard this information today and you're not quite sure about which option is best for you, then that's what Finance for Teachers does. We sit down with you and we help you understand which option is the best for you. Whether it be a Roth IRA, whether it be a 403B, whether it be a mixture of the two, and we help you understand, find a vendor that's good for you in your district or outside, and we help you set it all up. So it's all customized, and we help people with those small projects all the way up to doing a full review of your finances and making sure that everything is in sync and works well together. Now, if you don't want to receive that kind of personalized advice, you still want to go ahead and do some online learning, then that's another option too. Teachers Retirement Help has video training classes that I run with them. They're all live classes. And we go into more detail about how to set yourself up financially and how to really take back that control of your retirement planning. We do that in a series of classes, and we do it in 2 different programs. One is the bachelor's program. It's a set of 3 classes, and it's more for setting yourself up financially so that you're in a good place. The first class we talk about a worry-free everyday spending plan. We really sit down and making sure that you are comfortable in how you're managing your money day to day. And if you're not, we go through questions and scenarios on how to get that situation under control. What technology can you use to make it more automated and easy to manage? There's lots of different apps out there, so we bring some good ones that we vetted, and we make sure that you're comfortable using them and it makes sense for you. In the second class, we look at eliminating debt. How do you go about that? The best way to do that quickly and the way that makes the most sense for you. And then from that point, once you've got everything there under control, then we talk about how to get that strategy in place to start saving for retirement. How to do it quickly, how to do it cheaply, and just get started. So the bachelor's program, to go through those classes, it's a one-time payment of $297. And if you're interested in that, then we can either talk more about those classes, or if you're ready to get involved and jump right in, then you can go to teachersfinanceuniversity.com and /join, and you'll be able to find the process to join the classes there. But what if you want more than that? What if that is not quite what you're looking for, you're looking for more? We do have the master's program. It's an additional 3 classes, and it goes more into detail with the retirement savings. It helps you choose investments. It helps you decide if you want to split between a Roth IRA and 403b. How do you decide what kind of weighting to do? How do you include your spouse's plans into that? If your spouse is a teacher or not a teacher, how do you bring that all together so it's a good plan for your family? While you're building all this wealth, insurance is used to protect that wealth. So what types of insurance should teachers have? And how do they go about protecting that? And then in the final class, it's talking about what happens when the worst happens. How do you go about leaving your money to people in the best, cheapest, and simplest way? So if those additional classes, along with the first 3, interest you, that is a one-time payment of $397, and it's the same page to go ahead and look at those classes and join. So that's teachersfinanceuniversity.com/join. Now, for everyone, if you are not interested in services today, but you still want more information, there's 2 things for you to do. One, we have a very extensive book called The Enriched Teacher, and that is filled with money-saving tips for everything that you spend money on throughout the day. And it really helps you understand how you can be saving money day to day and then using that to fund your other goals. We're giving away part of that book for free. So if you go to enrichedteacher.com/webinar, you'll be able to download part of that book. Feel free to read it. We actually give that book away in its entirety in our classes. So if that's something you like in that book, then you can join the class and you can get the whole book for free. If you do have any questions about anything on the webinar today, whether it be some of the content we shared, or if it's about finance for teachers or teachers retirement help and anything we do over there, do feel free to email me. My email is dave@financeforteachers.com. I'm happy to answer any questions or go through anything that you want to learn or understand.